Derby County host Coventry City at Pride Park Stadium this Saturday for the early morning kickoff, with the game getting underway at 12:30. And this game will see John Eustace come up against former Derby County manager Frank Lampard as he brings his Coventry City side all the way to Pride Park. Now, it's going to be a very, very interesting game. It's going to be one where Derby County are going to hope to see a start to their winning campaign in the Championship. But is that going to come through, and how is John Eustace going to make it happen? Now, both sides have their injury worries, and both sides will be hoping that they can pick up a victory in their second league game of the season. But is that going to be possible? There's a range of different transfer news for both teams, and obviously the injury doubts and predictions, which is going to come later in this video. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. If you are over on TikTok, hit like and follow. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, but let's get into it. Now, Derby County and Coventry both do have their injury doubts heading into this one at Pride Park Stadium, with Derby County missing a range of different players. The likes of Curtis Nelson, Kane Wilson, Lars-Jørgen Selvesen, and Sondre Langas are all injuries which we knew about. Owen Beck is still doubtful on the sidelines as of right now, and Patrick Agyemang is another one who is sitting out. The latest injury news which we got in midweek was that Corey Blackett-Taylor and Charles Abuka would unfortunately be out for up to the next 6 weeks, as they both suffered from muscle injuries towards the back end of pre-season, with Charles Abuka and within that opening day defeat to Stoke City for Corey Blackett-Taylor. Now, for Coventry City, they're potentially missing Josh Eccles as well as Oliver Dovin, and it will be interesting to see how Coventry City do line up. Now, if we look at the team's recent form, on the opening day, Derby County lost 3-1 to Stoke City, with Carlton Morris picking up Derby County's only goal, and Dion Sanderson being at fault for 2 of Stoke City's goals. So it's a very, very interesting one. But then in midweek, Derby County went to the Hawthorns and completed an absolute smash and grab with a late goal from Joe Ward, who bent it like Beckham in that final minute. And what a goal that was, and Derby went on to win on penalties. Now, Coventry City, on the other hand, picked up a point on the opening day up against Hull City and were victorious in midweek against Luton Town, where Ellis Sims scored the only goal of the game after 58 minutes. Now, Coventry were the dominant force in that game, and it is going to be interesting to see how it shakes out this afternoon. Now, if we do look at the league table, it is a little bit too early to really gain anything from that, so I'm not going to be putting it on the screen or anything like that. But at the moment, Coventry City sit in 14th place with 1 point, whereas Derby County sit in 23rd on a -2 goal difference with 0 points. Now, the head-to-heads of both of these sides is very, very interesting. It is split across the board. 4 wins for Derby, 4 wins for Coventry, and 4 draws. But if we go back to last season, Derby County completed the league double over Coventry City with a 2-1 victory in November and a 2-0 win on the 11th of March, which was one of those games which helped push Derby County into that survival instinct, really. At that moment in time, I think it gave Derby County the opportunity to go, I think it was 3 points closer to safety, when I think they were about 7 points away at that moment in time, which was obviously very, very interesting. Now, for Derby County, it's been a very, very interesting week in terms of transfer news and things like that, because Lewis Travis made it clear in midweek that he wanted to leave Blackburn Rovers and he wanted to join up with Derby County. That came after Derby County had, I believe it was a £1.5 million bid rejected, which was their second bid of the summer, and another one will probably be coming, and this was all reported by Elliot Jackson over the course of the last few days. And the state of play at the moment is that Rovers aren't going to budge on their evaluation. We did a full transfer review live last night where we was discussing the transfers, went through the cup draw and everything like that. So if you haven't checked that already, make sure you go and check that out. But it will be interesting to see how quickly this impasse gets resolved, really, whether it be Travis signing a new contract at Blackburn, whether it be Travis coming to Derby County. It is something which needs to be sorted as quickly as possible. In other transfer news, Derby County are rumoured to be preparing a third bid for Max Johnston, the Scottish under-21 right-back who has played at senior international level, and it's going to be interesting to see if that deal does get done, because I believe Derby County so far have had 2 bids rejected of £1.4 and £1.6 million over the course of the last few weeks, and obviously as it stands right now, no deal has been completed, and that's obviously a position where Derby County feel as if they need to strengthen. Now, Coventry City have a couple of other issues that they've got to worry about, and that is in regards to players moving on. They are currently in talks with, I believe it's Southampton, over a move for Jack Rudoni, who they value at £15 million. They value him at, and he could be heading out the exit door over the course of the next few days. But as it stands right now, no deal has been agreed, and at the moment he will be staying at Coventry City, but we're waiting to sort of see how that shakes out. I believe the talk is that it will be 15 million for Southampton to get that deal done. But at the moment, no deal has been agreed. No bid has been officially made, I don't think. But we're going to have to wait and see sort of how that goes across the course of the next few days. Now, in sort of regard of the previous few fixtures, let's just take a look at what Derby County have done, and let's also take a look at what Coventry City have done. Now, in that first game, Derby County lined up in a 4-2-3-1 with a team of Zetterstrom in goal, a back four of Niambi, Bart, Clark and Forsyth, with a midfield three of Thompson and Kenzo as that double pivot, with Adams as the number 10. On the left, we had Blackett-Taylor. On the right, we had Caden Jackson, and our number 9 was Carlton Morris. Now, for me, if I'm going to give my honest opinion, Ibu Adams in that number 10 role just really doesn't work, especially when the 2 people sat behind him are small, like they are in regards of Thompson and Kenzo. They're not 6-foot midfielders who are going to win your headers and things like that. So for me, one of them needs to be swapped around in order to give Ibu the opportunity to be in his better position. I understand the tactical outlook of what he's doing with Ibu Adams, but I just don't think it's one that necessarily works, in my personal opinion. Now, there's obviously lots of different opinions based on that opening game. Was Danny Bart at fault for the second goal? Was it Dion Sanderson? For me, I felt as if Dion Sanderson sort of pushed up instead of dropping deeper when he should have, and that obviously caused problems for Derby County in that sort of long run, but that's obviously something that can be addressed over the course of the next few games. We had a similar situation in the game in midweek against West Brom, where Danny Bart came off the bench, and he sort of didn't track his runner, essentially, similar to that of what Dion Sanderson did, and ultimately ended up in a goal as well. But I do believe that Derby County will solve those issues heading into future games. Whether that be with a change in the back four or not, I'm not entirely sure, but we will have to wait and see. Now, heading into their game on midweek up against West Bromwich Albion, Derby County again played a 4-2-3-1. It was a very, very interesting 4-2-3-1 shape, if I'm completely honest, but let's get into it. Vickers was in goal. He was excellent. We played a back four of Rooney, Sanderson, Forsyth and Elder. I thought Rooney was absolutely phenomenal, by the way. Fozzie, again, had his really good moments in there as well. Danny Bart came off the bench and was unfortunately at fault, in my opinion, for their first goal, which came from his man. In my personal opinion, the midfield three was then Ozo and Kenzo in the pivot, with Andreas Weimann as that number 10. On the right, we had Joe Ward. On the left, we had Bobby Clark. And as your number 9 was Dejan Brown. Now, for me, I think it was a decent game in terms of, based on the circumstances, let's say. Derby County are obviously focusing on getting fitness in the legs of Weimann, Ozo, Clark, getting Ward and Rooney fitness, getting Dejan Brown up to speed, Sanderson as well, who realistically hadn't played many minutes. You obviously saw Ben Osborne and Lennon Wilden come off the bench, as well as the likes of Ibu Adams, Danny Bart, Caden Jackson. Would have been nice to see an Isaac Gordon or an Owen Eames get on the pitch, but ultimately we sort of had a game to try and win, and I think it was the right decision, the subs that we made, and Joe Ward obviously scored that late goal. I think in terms of the game in midweek, I think we was just very passive early doors, but I think we was a lot better in possession. I think having Kenzo and Ozo as the pivot was really good for me. Obviously, if we do look at Kenzo, like, he completed and like 30 odd more passes than he did against Stoke, which is incredible. Less passes into the final third, but he got on the ball and did a lot more for me, which was really, really important. Obviously, David Ozo in that midfield as well. He was in a very good position. He was getting those passes in the final third as well. So I think having that pivot of Kenzo and Ozo, if we can get it fit and firing, is going to work incredibly well. And obviously, once you get Bobby Clark and Andreas Weimann fit, Derby County, in my opinion, will go to another level. We personally weren't that good on Tuesday night, but ultimately I don't think it was as bad as many people think it was, if that makes sense to you guys. Now, if we take a look at Coventry City, they also play in a similar 4-2-3-1 formation. They started with Rushworth in goal, a back four of De Silva, Kitching, Thomas and Van Eerwyck, with a midfield three of Grimes, Torp and Rudoni as the 10. Mason Clark on the left, Sakamoto on the right and Thomas Asante up front, but they've got tons of talent to come off the bench. Haji Wright, Angle Brow, you've got Ben Sheaf, Jamie Allen. You then look at the likes of Kane Kaiser-Hayden, Ellis Sims, Rafael Rodriguez, Jake Bidwell. They've got some very, very good talent, and I think they were okay in this game, to be completely honest with you. I think they dominated the game, created a lot of shooting opportunities, obviously 18 shots on target. A fair whack of those were in the box, 10 of those 18, but only 3 on target is where the problem sort of stands for me in that respect of Coventry City up against that of Hull City. Now, if we take a look at their victory in midweek up against Luton Town, it says it was set up in a 4-4-2, but obviously that may be slightly wrong. If you are a Coventry fan, you can correct me down in the comments. In goal, they had Wilson. They had a back four of Brow, Bidwell, Thomas and Kaiser-Hayden. A 4 across midfield of Rodriguez, Torp, Allen and Andrews, and a front 2 of Wright and Sims. Off the bench came Kitchen, Rudani, Grimes, Sakamoto and Brandon Thomas Asante. They won this game 1-0 with Ellis Sims getting the goal. It wasn't necessarily the domination that they saw earlier on in the week, but it was much better for me in terms of the chances they created. I think out of their 12 shots, I think 7 of them were big chances, a 2.5 expected goals, and most of that coming from open play as well. They had 11 shots in the box, just 1 shot outside the box. So Coventry City and Frank Lampard are going to be causing Derby County problems in this game on Saturday. Are Derby County going to be able to collect 3 points? I do not know right now. Are Coventry City going to be able to get those points in the bag? It looks as if it could be possible. Now, obviously, for Derby County, let's have just a goose's ganders at what the team could be heading into this midweek fixture. Well, it's not a midweek fixture, it's a Saturday fixture. It's an early morning, it is a Saturday. Let's see how this team is going to shape up, in my personal opinion. So for me, I would go with Zetterstrom in goal, a back four of Nyambi. I'd probably actually start Rooney at centre-back with Matt Clark on the left, Craig Forsyth. I'd go with a midfield 2 of Kenzo Hellman, David Ozo. I think in that number 10 role, I do think they're going to keep Ebro Adams there. But for me, I'd rather have an Andreas Weimann or a Bobby Clark. The left-hand side is sort of where we have our problems, because who can actually play there? You're going to have to look at an Andreas Weimann. You're going to have to look at maybe a Joe Ward. You're going to have to question a Bobby Clark. Are they fit enough? For me, though, I've put Jackson on the left-hand side, and then I've gone with Joe Ward on the right, and then Carlton Morris as that number 9. So just to run that down, Zetterstrom in goal, a back four of Nyambi, Rooney, Clark and Forsyth, a midfield 3 of Kenzo, Ozo and Adams, and a front 3 of Jackson, Morris and Joe Ward. Now, I would not be opposed to Weimann starting in the 10 or Clark starting on the left and completely changing that front 3, but that is just where I'm at the moment. Now, you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you have not done so already. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Let me know your score predictions down below. I will be live Saturday morning before the game, and probably at some point on Friday if Derby County get some transfer dealings done. But you can let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.